Good morning, children.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, ma'am.
Your exams are going on, I know. Maybe you haven't got time to revise your daily lessons, but still, let me see at least what was taught in the class you're remembering or not. We were learning about bryophytes. Bryophytes is a second division coming under plant kingdom. We completed algae or thallophyta and we moved on to bryophyta. Bryophyta, we call them as amphibians of the plant kingdom. What is the reason why we call them as amphibians of the plant kingdom? Anna is present. Anna, yes. Yesterday you told me that they are known as amphibians of the plant kingdom. But tell me the reason now.
Ma'am, for sexual reproduction,
Ah.
they need water.
Very
So,
good. The male gametes to move towards the female gamete at the time of sexual reproduction, presence of water is essential. And we also learned about male and female reproductive organs in Bryophyta. What do you call the male reproductive organ in Bryophytes? Meenakshi, what do you call them?
antheridium.
Antheridium. What do antheridium produce? What do you call the male gametes? Steffi, what do you call the male gametes produced by antheridium?
Ma'am, I wasn't there in the class. I don't know.
Same explanation you have given me before also, and I've given the answer also at that time. That is not at all an excuse. Nandana?
Anthrosoids.
Anthrosoids. And which is the female reproductive organ, the female sex organ? Naureen?
Archegonium.
Archegonium. What do archegonium produce? Punya?
Single egg, flask shape.
Okay, good. So we'll continue with bryophytes. Same slide which you had seen last class. From there we will start. Body, it is more differentiated when compared to algae, and here also, but it is thallus-like. Now real root, stems and leaves are present. They are prostrate or erect. All those we had explained last class. Quickly I'll go through those points. And it is attached to the substratum with the help of unicellular or multicellular rhizoids. Rhizoids perform the function of roots, helps them in absorbing water, and it also helps in anchorage, helping them to get attached to the substratum. And it can be single celled or multicellular. They lack true roots, stem or leaves. Then instead they have some root-like, leaf-like or stem-like structures. And the main plant body is haploid. So when you say haploid itself, you can understand the main plant body will be gametophyte, because in our previous class, biological classification, we learned that in plants, there are two distinct phases in their life cycle, and these two phases will alternate with each other, and those two phases are sporophytic phase and gametophytic phase. Sporophytic phase is haploid. Sorry, sporophytic phase is diploid and gametophytic phase is haploid. Haploid gametophyte and diploid sporophyte. Diploid sporophyte and haploid gametophyte are the two distinct phases in the life cycle of plants. And gametophyte, as the name suggests, they'll produce haploid. Haploid? What do gametophyte produce? Haploid? Gametophyte, gametes. And sporophyte will produce spores. Here, the main plant body is, so the main plant body can be different for different plants. But here in Bryophyta, the main plant body is haploid. And this haploid plant body, which produces gametes, you call it as gametophyte. Now the sex organs, they are multicellular. It is not single cell. So multicellular sex organs are found in Bryophyta. The male sex organ, we call it as antheridium. You can see both antheridium and archegonium. Antheridium is the male sex organ, and they will produce antherozoids, which are biflagellated. See the figure, you can see both Antheridium, see Antheridium having the egg, and as such you call this as the female gametophyte. First one female gametophyte, and second one male gametophyte, where you can see sperms, and in Archegonium it is provided with egg. The sex organs are multicellular. Male sex organ is known as Antheridium, and they produce biflagellated antherozoids, whereas the female sex organ is known as Archegonium, and it is flask shaped in structure, and inside a single egg is produced. Several antherozoids are produced, whereas in Archegonium a single egg is produced. And here you can see the picture of the female thallus, and a stalk-like structure you can find. You call it as archegoniophore. At the tip of that you can see a receptacle, and the shape of the receptacle is different for male and female. So male and female sex organs are found in separate structures, separate thallus. You call it as heterothallic. Homothallic means male and female sex organs. When they are found in the same thallus, you call it as homothallus. If not, you call it as heterothallus. Homothallus and heterothallus. Here you can find which one? Heterothallus, because in different thallus you can find male and female sex organs. So you can find archegoniophore. They are certain stalk-like structures, and at the tip of that you can see receptacle. It is on that receptacle. A enlarged view of the receptacle is shown over here. The same receptacle you can see here. For male and female it is different. So for male and female, you can see male receptacle and female one, and the enlarged view of the same is also shown. So once again, the sex organs in bryophytes are Antheridium and Archegonium. Antheridium is male sex organ and Archegonium is female sex organ. Antheridium produces antherozoids, which are provided with two flagella, whereas Archegonium, the female sex organ, which is flask shaped in appearance, will produce a single egg. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay, moving on to the next one. Now, anthrosoids, once these are produced, once these are matured, they will be released into the water. And as we already told, it is via water that they reach the female gamete. So they'll be released into the water medium, and they will swim and they will reach the archegonium. And inside the archegonium, what is there? Now read inside the archegonium. Now read inside archegonium, what is present, which is a female gamete?
Egg.
Egg. Female voice. Instead of female voice, I heard a male voice. Now read, are you there? Nevin told the answer, no?
Egg.
Yes. Now read a little late. What happened? Some connectivity issues?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I thought suddenly your voice changed. Okay. Archegonium. So inside the archegonium, they have the egg, and this antherozoid will fuse with the egg, resulting in the formation of a zygote. So zygote is formed by the fusion of antherozoid with the egg present in the archegonium. Egg is non-motile. It will be present inside the archegonium, whereas the male gametes, antherozoids, they are motile. Why do you say they are motile? Because they are provided with two flagella. And with the help of that, by means of water, they'll swim and they will reach the archegonium, where they will fuse with the egg and forms the zygote. Now, zygote, once normally you have learned the zygote, once a zygote is formed, zygote will undergo meiotic division and produces haploid spores. But here zygotes, immediately they are not undergoing meiotic division, but they will develop into a multicellular structure. You can see the figure, zygote. So these pictures are not in the textbook. No need to learn as such, but it will be better to see those figures so that you can understand better. So zygote is not undergoing meiosis. When meiosis is happening, the chromosome number is getting reduced, but they don't undergo meiosis. Instead, they will multiply and they form a multicellular structure, which is known as a sporophyte. Once again, once the zygote is formed, they will undergo division, cell division, and they form multicellular. Zygote, you know, it's a single celled structure. So they undergo division, cell division, mitotic division, and they form a multicellular body. You call it as a sporophyte. And the sporophyte, in the beginning I told you that the main plant body here is gametophyte. And sporophyte is not free living. You cannot generalize the statement, sporophyte is not free living. It differs. From plant to plant, it can differ. But in the case of bryophytes, sporophyte is not free living. When you say free living, it is attached to some other structure. So it is attached to gametophyte, which is photosynthetic. Once again, the sporophyte in Bryophyta is not free living, but it is attached to gametophyte, which is green in color, which is photosynthetic and which can carry out preparation of food, and sporophyte will obtain nourishment from gametophyte. Okay. Now, some cells, now once the sporophyte is formed, as I told you, zygote, it is not immediately undergoing meiotic division to form spores. Instead, zygote will develop into sporophyte, and it is in the sporophyte certain cells will undergo reduction division or meiotic division, forming spores. And these spores are haploid because sporophyte is diploid. If diploid cell undergoes meiotic division or reduction division, it becomes haploid. So spores are haploid, sporophyte is diploid. So diploid sporophyte undergoes meiotic division and forms haploid spores. And what these spores will do? They will germinate and form gametophyte. So it's like a cycle. It's like a cycle. The gametophyte will produce gametes, which will fuse, form zygote. Zygote forms sporophyte. Sporophyte undergoes meiotic division and forms spores. That spores will again undergo transformation or germinate and form gametophyte. Spores are also haploid. Gametophyte is also haploid. So mitotic division. See children, if the cell which is undergoing division and the cells which are formed are also haploid, then it will be meiotic division. Okay, mitotic division. If, once again I'll repeat, if the chromosome number remains the same in the dividing cell and the product cells, the cells formed, the chromosome numbers remain same, haploid and haploid, then it is mitotic division. But diploid cell is undergoing division and forming haploid cells, then it is meiotic division. Mitotic and meiotic. Okay, E is silent in meiosis. Once again, mitotic division and meiotic division. If the chromosome number, if it is haploid cell undergoing division to form haploid cells again, it will be mitotic division. If a diploid cell is undergoing division to form haploid, then it will be meiotic division. Not mitotic, meiotic. Don't get confused between both. And hope you all know the difference between diploid and haploid. I'm keeping on repeating the same terms, thinking that you know it. Diploid means what? Can anyone tell me what is diploid?
Paired condition of chromosomes.
Yes. When the chromosomes are in the paired condition, you call it as diploid. When chromosomes are unpaired, you call it as haploid. I have given you the example of our own body. All the body cells, they are having paired chromosome, 23 pairs of 46 chromosomes. So it's in a paired condition. So then we call it as diploid. All your body cells are diploid. But the gametes produced, that is eggs and sperms, they will be in the haploid condition. They will not have 23 pairs of chromosome. Instead, they will have just 23. So that upon fertilization, when male and female gametes combine, they can retain the chromosome number of the organism. You know that chromosome number is fixed for each species, each type of organism. They have a fixed number of chromosome. Once it fluctuates, it can lead to chromosomal abnormalities, which will affect both physically and mentally also it can cause changes. You know about Down syndrome and all, when you have an additional X chromosome. So all that you will learn in class 12. Okay. So hope this is understood. Any explanation is needed? Any explanation is needed? We learned about Bryophyta, and just like in any other plants, I told they have two distinct phases, a diploid sporophytic phase and a haploid gametophytic phase. And gametophyte will produce what? Gametes. Which are the gametes? Anthrosoids and egg. An antherozoid will fuse with the egg to form zygote. So antherozoid is haploid and egg is also haploid. So N and N combined, so zygote will be diploid. But zygote will not undergo any meiotic division immediately. Instead, they will develop and form a multicellular sporophyte. And in a sporophyte, some of the cells will undergo meiotic division. Why meiotic division? Sporophyte is diploid. Spores are haploid. So if diploid, sporophyte should form haploid spores, meiotic division should happen, not mitotic, meiotic. And they will result in the formation of haploid spores. And what is the function of these spores? Spores will germinate and form gametophyte. Again, the cycle continues. Gametophyte produces gametes, which will fuse and form zygote. Zygote forms sporophyte. Sporophyte produces spores, and that will germinate into gametophyte. This keeps on going. And with respect to bryophytes, I told you that the main plant body is gametophyte. Gametophyte is photosynthetic. They can carry out the preparation of food just like any other green plants, and they'll provide nourishment to the sporophyte. Sporophyte remains attached to the gametophyte. From the figure you might have understood. Any doubts? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So who is going to brief me about bryophytes? What we learned today, starting from gametophyte. Lydia, you can start. Male sex organ, from there. You are simply moving your lips, or really you have some complaint with the mic, or you are just moving your lips to, no, na? Okay, now try. Hold it close to your mouth. Speak. I cannot hear. Anybody else can hear, Lydia? No. Okay, Nidhi. Nidhi, yesterday you missed your class, no? Last day, day before yesterday. Okay, tell me.
Male sex organ is called Anthrosoids. And
new one, discovered now. Antheridium. Okay. What do they produce? What do they produce, Nidhi?
Anthrosoids.
What are anthrozoids?
male sex organ.
Antheridium is male sex organ. And antherozoids are male gametes. What are antherozoids?
Male gametes.
Ah, yes. Now continue, Sania. Tell me about female sex organ and the gamete produced.
Archegonium is the female gamete and
Female?
a sex organ.
Yes. And what do they produce?
Single egg.
Single egg. Then what happens, Michael? After that? After that, what happens?
The eggs undergo division and form zygotes.
Eggs undergo division. We said about male gamete and female gamete. How is a zygote getting formed?
Oh no, the male gamete and female gamete
fuses and form zygote. Okay, Donna, continue from zygote.
Zygote does not
Don't check anywhere.
Zygotes do not undergo meiosis division, so they produce a multicellular body called sporophyte.
Yes, continue, Naureen. Till sporophyte she told. Now what is next?
The diploid sporophyte undergo meiotic division to form haploid spores.
Haploid spores. Now what happens to the haploid spores, Punya?
The spores germinate to form gametophyte.
Then what happens, Nandana? Once a gametophyte is formed, what happens now?
It undergoes mitotic division to form gametes.
Yes. So this cycle will continue, and we call it as, what do you call this phenomenon of two phases alternating with each other, Malavika?
Alternation of generation.
Louder?
Alternation of generation.
Once again.
Alternation of generation.
Which are the two generations?
Diploid, sporophytic, and haploid gametophyte.
Very good, very good. Okay, we'll continue. Okay, this up to here we have completed. Let us move on to the next slide. So picture again. So same slide, the theory given is same, but you can see the picture of archegoniophores, those stalk-like structure where egg is produced. Same thing what we discussed just now. They'll produce egg, and that will produce, this will be producing the egg, and the antheridophores, at the tip of the antheridophores, that receptacle, they will have the antheridium, which produces the sperm. They'll fuse together and result in the formation of a zygote, which forms sporophyte. Same thing which we discussed now. One more picture, that's all. Okay. Now, we are going to learn about, so we have completed the methods of reproduction taking place in Bryophyta. Now we are going to learn about the different benefits. How are they useful to us? What are the different benefits of Bryophyta? Starting with the first point, some of them, they provide food for different mammals, birds, etc. Mammals mainly the herbaceous, those which are herbivorous or which feeds on plants. So they provide food, or they are the source of food for several birds and mammals. So that is the first point, first benefit of Bryophyta. Moving on to the second one, second use, species is sphagnum. Sphagnum is a type of Bryophyta. It is a moss. They provide a substance known as peat. They provide a substance known as peat. Picture of that particular moss and the peat produced by them, you can see. And this peat has got several uses. You can either use it as a fuel, and another advantage of peat is that it has got water holding capacity. It can retain water. So the advantage of having this water retention is that when you need to transport some living material, fresh flowers or living plants, you can use this peat. so that these living materials can be transported fresh to faraway places. So we discussed about 2 uses, starting with the first one. They will provide, or they are the source of food for several organisms like herbaceous mammals, birds. And the second use is that a particular Bryophyta, which is a moss, sphagnum. The name is sphagnum, and they'll produce a substance known as peat. You can see in the picture peat. And this peat has got 2 uses. One is that it can be used as a fuel, and the other one is that it has got a capacity to retain water, or water holding capacity is high. So it is used in the transshipment or for transporting, or it is used as a packing material for transporting living material so that they will remain fresh. You might have seen for wedding decoration or for decorating auditorium and all, a substance is used where aster and different flowers are kept. Have you seen that, children?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you call it?
Gases.
Oasis, floral oasis. But that is actually a chemical substance. It is a different version of plastic. You can say it consists of different type of poisonous chemicals. One such poisonous substance is formaldehyde. Regular exposure to such substances can even lead to cancer. So the recent research says that regular exposure, once in a while, if you come into contact with that, nothing will happen. Continuous, when you are regularly exposed to that, it can even lead to dangerous diseases like cancer. So this is the best substitute for keeping flowers and plants fresh. This can be used for decoration too. Maybe it has to be more into practice now. What we are using is floral oasis. So slowly we'll wait. It will get replaced by some biological substances like peat. Moving on to the third use. I think we will not get time to continue or complete it. So we'll wind up with these 2 uses. Okay. So if I continue with the third one, we may not get time. We have hardly 2-3 minutes. Okay. So we discussed about the 2 uses of Bryophyta. Who will tell me those uses? Rijas, give me any one use. Any one use. 2 only we discuss. I don't want you to check anywhere. Recollect and tell me.
Some bryophytes.
Louder.
Some mosses provide food for animals and birds.
Okay, good. And next point, who is going to say? Anybody voluntarily? Nobody wants to say. Gayatri?
The bryophyte called sphagnum produces, we can produce.
Little more clear. It's not clear to me. Okay.
Sphagnum, a moss which produces peat, can be used.
Wait. It produces a substance known as peat. And what are the 2 uses of peat? Nia, can you tell me one use of peat?
It have water holding capacity.
So what is the advantage of having water retention?
Transhifting plants, living organs.
To distant places. Repeat that sentence once again, not clear.
For transhifting plants to different places.
Transshipment, or simply you can say for transporting living materials to
different places.
Faraway places. One more point is there, one more use. Nidhi, can you tell me one more use?
Used as fuels.
Very good. So we'll wind up. It's 12:10. Okay, children, see you next class. Please do revise. Saturday is your biology exam, no children? Yes? So prepare well and score good marks. All the best in advance. Thank you, children.